Welcome to She Sells Radio. So, about 6 years ago now, I had really started very seriously, more seriously, I would say, embarking on my personal development journey. And I had joined my very first mastermind, which was called the Quantum Leap Mastermind. Now, if you were listening and you are a Miracle Morning or Hal Elrod fan, you'll know his name. He was one of the hosts. So the other co-host was his business partner, this really cool guy, John Berghoff. And I remember at the time thinking the investment was so huge. It was like, I don't even know if I should say this, but I think it was like $10,000 to join the mastermind. It's probably like 10x that now, if they still have it. And it felt like such a quantum leap to me to even make that investment and be in that group. And I remember being so like intimidated too by the other people who were in there. But what happened, which is what always happens when we follow the nudges and when we invest in ourselves, is as soon as I joined, not only did I start growing as a person because I'd invested in myself in a way that was stretchy, but I also started meeting some of the most amazing people I've ever met. And I am going to bring you one of the incredible women I met in that mastermind here today on the podcast. And I'm so excited because we're going to talk intuition. We're going to talk how it applies to sales and business. And it's going to be a really holistic conversation, which I'm always here for on the show. So my guest today is Julie Reisler. And Julie, I'm pretty sure you and I bonded years ago initially over things like drumming in the forest as part of that mastermind. So you're going to hear her professional bio in a moment. And then you're also going to hear she's like this really amazing, well-rounded person. But first, what I do want to say is that one of the biggest factors in you growing your sales and growing your business is knowing how to be authentic to you and knowing how to sell with intentionality and integrity. And this is what I believe, even if you don't have all of the quote unquote best tactical skills out there, if you keep those core things in mind, intentionality, integrity, authenticity, you will be wildly successful at whatever you embark on. And Julie embodies those things and is going to share how she integrated that into her journey of growing her business and how she still leverages them today. So with that, let me share with you a bit of her professional bio, and you're going to hear just the incredible caliber of who you're about to learn from. And then we're going to dig in and you're going to get to hear from Julie. So Julie Reisler is an interior designer for your soul. She's a mentor to hundreds of coaches, change makers, and soulful entrepreneurs. She's the host of the YOUest You podcast, a global show in over 175 countries, the author of an incredible book, Get a PhD in You. She's been featured in Forbes, Mind Body Green, the Chopra Center, Bustle, and Thrive Global for her work. She is a multi-time TEDx speaker and speaks on stages all around the world, and is also a popular course creator on Insight Timer. She is a professor at Georgetown University in their coaching program and is the founder of the Life Designer Coach Academy, which I'm going to have her share a little bit more about at the end of the interview today. But it's a leading edge program where she certifies life coaches from all around the world. Julie, welcome to She Sells Radio. I'm so happy to have you here today.
Oh my goodness. My cheeks are hurting from smiling. That's a gauge for me. I'm so excited to be here with you, Elise.
Oh.
I'm just love what you're doing, love who you are, love this conversation. Thank you for having me.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. And here's what I want to start with. You and I were chatting before we hit record, and I was like, wait, we can't even go any further because it was literally within like a minute. This is what I love about this one. We had, I think, 1 or 2 minutes of how are you? And then it was like, let's talk about our souls and intuition and how like the big moves you've made in your life and the scary and hard moves you've made in your life as a result of tapping into your intuition. And I want to talk today both about how you approach sales and business, and then also I think some of the core elements that have made you so successful and that you teach to your clients, like tuning into intuition and getting really connected with who we are as souls on this planet. But I would love to start by sharing something that you say on your website, which I think is so, so powerful. So is that okay if we like start there and then
Oh yeah.
you have no idea what
Anywhere.
I'm about to
No,
share?
all good. I'm here for it.
Okay. Well, I read this on your site and I was like, this is it. Like, we could have the whole conversation around this. So you say, everything you need to feel powerful, balanced, and happy lives inside of you. Own all of it so you can create a next level life. And then you say, this just struck me so much. Underneath the familiar desire to look perfect or have it all together, the real you, the one you might be afraid to reveal, bravely holds the key to your happiness and strength. And while this voice could be as quiet as a whisper, you feel it calling, asking you to stop pretending and to start listening, to start facing the disconnection and messiness under the surface. Because there are desires, fears, hurts, beliefs, and questions that have accumulated over the years, stacked one on top of another in a dark corner. It's time to go there, my friend, to shine a big old light on every nook and cranny so all of that stuff can be seen, held, and healed. And this is what will finally free you from the unhealthy cycles, the overdoing, overeating, over drinking, overworking, overextending, over shopping, over anything. This is what will give you the inner spiritual power to take your life, your relationships, your conversations, and your outlook to the next level. And here's what I want to say about all of that. Like, number one, it's all the things that I know in my own journey have been so scary to face. And I still find new parts of myself pretty much every day where I'm like, oh, I don't want to go there. Oh, that feels uncomfortable. Oh, I don't want to face that. But one of the concepts that I teach is this concept of selling from wholeness, which is basically, it's the opposite of how most of us sell and approach business, at least how I did for so long, which is all about lack, disconnection. When I make that amount of money, then I'll be happy. When I land that client, then I'll feel validated. And instead, what selling from wholeness is like, no, you have everything you need inside of you. And when we approach sales and business from that standpoint, it's a radically different experience. So I wanted to start with that positioning for your background and your journey. I'm guessing you didn't like come out of the box knowing that or understanding that, although maybe you did and you just forgot along the way, like many of us did. And then we kind of have our awakening. But tell us a bit about what your journey was that brought you to wanting to really teach this and do this work. So I know you have a powerful personal story as well.
Mm. I almost cried hearing you. I mean, I know because I
Yeah.
wrote those words and I'm like, oh my gosh, yeah, I really do stand for that. And
Yeah.
so, what I want to say, God, I love, love, love that you come from this whole person, this holistic standpoint. And I have so many thoughts. I'm going to do my best to like just say we'll get to everything we need to get
Right.
to. This concept, though, I'm going a little bit backwards, but I want to say, and it's interesting. I learned this both firsthand in one of the most darkest periods of my life, this realization that what I've been searching for is actually within me, and then it's within each of us, and I believe that wholeheartedly. And that was then reinforced when I went back and got a master's degree in health and wellness coaching from a school, from a brick and mortar university. They now have online too, but I went in person, and it was all from an integrative perspective, a holistic perspective. One of the things we learned, and I just was like, oh yeah, I believe this, is that every person, you could think of it as literally, we're all, I call it divine by design. You are
Mm.
born with what you need, the wisdom, and frankly, you have all of that within you. And that doesn't mean that the hurts and the challenges, those are part of that wisdom. It's not like, there's going to be a point someday where I don't have that anymore, or it's like that's part, that messiness is part of the becoming, the stepping
Mm.
into really who you are. So for me, I think going through this firsthand, I was sharing this with you earlier. I found myself about, oh my gosh, about 12 years ago, really actually it was a little bit more, my son's 50, it was about 14 years ago, but it took a while. I found myself really in a tough, dark night of the soul. I was working in a job I liked and didn't love.
Mm.
If you know strength finders, positivity is my top one. And I was like, I'm going to make this work and I'm going to go
Mm.
from every positive angle. But something in my soul was like, yeah, this is great. It's good, but it's not it. And
Mm,
2 children back to back, which is very taxing, in a marriage, that really good person, yet and I say again, my inner self, my soul was like, something here is not working all together at the same time. I
yeah.
realized all of these things. So I did a lot of deep work, Elise, a lot of support groups and therapy. And it was actually coaching. I worked with a coach and did a program that was all about really like removing blocks, the blind spots to getting, like, we each have this essence of complete possibility and
Mm,
complete ability to be a light in the world, to make a change, to be of service in a greater way. We all have that in different ways. And this experience was life changing. Working with this coach was life changing. Asking new questions that had me start to see life in a new way was life changing. And so much so, I left my corporate day job, benefits, salary, the whole shebang, single mom by that point. This
mm,
was like now 11 years ago or so,
yeah.
and went back to school. I was finishing that and just knew. And I had no sales background. I'm talking
Yeah.
like nothing, or so I thought. What I did have was this crazy, intense desire to help other people, especially women who might be going through a very challenging period within themselves, whether it was overworking, overdoing, overeating, over anything. And frankly, often it's we're over, we're not being kind to ourselves.
Mm,
For me, it was a lot of attacking of myself, abandoning of myself, and that can lead to health issues as well, all of it. So
mhm.
yeah, it was this deep, deep desire to make a greater impact. And I just, my vow was, I kind of had a conversation with the universe. I'm like, please help me to just heal
Mm,
and to really bring to light what it is, who I really am, and and how I can serve and do this with others. Like, help me here and I will go and help as many people as I possibly can. Just please help me so I can
yeah.
actually like survive this, because I had a health crisis then followed all of that as well, which I'm
Oh my
still
gosh.
managing, luckily very
Sure.
well. So this holistic standpoint, I just, like you said, I live and breathe it. And I believe it, it can shift everything. So I'll pause there because I feel like I could say so much, but hopefully that gave
Yeah.
some experience.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Well, our stories are very similar. And so everything you share, it just resonates so, so deeply. And I think it's, for anyone who's listening, who's in that. Well, let me actually ask you this first. So someone's listening and they're like, oh my gosh, I'm there. I'm in that dark night of the soul right now. And I thought I had created what I was supposed to create. I thought I took the right moves. I thought I did the right thing. I got the whatever. I did the corporate job, or maybe they launched their own business and they thought it was a thing and now it's not, or they're in a relationship that's not what they thought it was going to be. And they're in that dark night of the soul. Like, what would you say to them as someone who has been through that yourself?
Yeah, many and multiple times, but I can tell you from that experience and now working with people in it. But really the first most important thing, like, I'm putting my hand to my heart. If you're
Yeah.
listening, you can't see that, is so what often happens is we start to attack ourselves when we feel, especially if you're driven and ambitious and overachieving, and feel like you have to prove yourself, or to be good enough in quotes.
Yeah.
So I think the most important first thing is just kind of like a white flag, like a surrender, and just, hey, like, literally talk to yourself like you would to your cute pet or a child.
Mm,
Like, hey, like, sweetheart, I'm with you. I will not leave you. I am here. I really, I'm a big believer of inviting in whatever you call your higher self, God, the divine, universe, source, Christ consciousness, like whatever that is for
mhm,
you. Invite that higher loving energy that is, frankly, I believe we're all created from, that lives within us. And I think
mm,
that first thing has got to be kind of I can't do this myself. And I'm aware I'm in a tough place, and something here is looking to change, or there's a message, or there's something here that wants to be seen or heard.
mm,
Um, and so we want to get curious. This is where I do think, and there's probably a lot of similarities, I know, with sales, with coaching. It's like getting curious, asking questions, going deeper. this can be where you do find a therapist, a coach, a friend. However, a journal, get your journal, your intuition, your inner guidance is, I think, a direct line to the divine, to your higher
Mm.
self. And so, asking yourself bigger questions like what's the message here? How can I love myself more? What am I pretending not to know that I know is true? These are some of these
Mm.
questions. Let me tell you something. That question, just be ready because
Wow.
there's courage
Yeah.
needed with that. I heard it very strongly, and it was going to be honest, it was not easy to hear, you are not in the marriage you want to be in. You're not in the job that suits you. In fact,
Yeah.
we're going to step by step, we're going to change the direction of the boat, just 1 degree at a time. But, asking, I think really loving up on yourself, holding that grace and space for yourself, like you would with a best friend.
Yeah.
And then starting to just really ask what do you need? What's the greater gift and message? What are you pretending not to know? What
Mm.
are you hiding from yourself? Often we, especially if we're really, really, really practiced at doing the quote unquote right thing, people pleasing, wanting to do what we're supposed to do, we often hide from ourselves. I
Mm.
don't know if I've ever said it that way, but that is something I've been playing with a lot is what am I shoving down? What am I hiding? What am I using and abusing that's helping me to that's kind of, having me not look at what's really happening. So I think even just that creating that space and grace for yourself and then asking some deep questions and just letting yourself be an answer and flow
Yeah.
with that is a
Wow.
really good place to start.
So much in what you just said that resonates. And I'm curious. So this came as you were talking, because I think for a lot of our listeners, they are driven, they are high performers.
Yep.
I mean, just like you and me, probably, right? Like raising our hand too. But what's the difference, in your opinion, between peak performance and like living your full potential versus overachieving? Like, what
Mm,
is, because you talked a lot about like the, like when we attack ourselves and that, and I sense there's something there, but like how do we know which camp we're in
yeah.
and distinguish the difference between the two?
Such a good question. I have a couple ways of answering it. One is
Yeah.
going to go a little more deeper spiritually.
Okay.
The
Awesome.
first aspect to it is using your emotions. We have this gift of our emotion. We have if you've ever heard of David Hawkins, the power versus force, the
Mm.
emotional guidance
Read that a while
scale.
back. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's very easy to, we all know this, right? When you feel like you're pushing, you're overdoing it, you're overwhelmed, maybe there's even a little bit of comparison, jealousy, despair. That is not bad. It's just those emotions are not life-giving, and that are
Mm.
those are probably coming from fear, right? Which could be more, ego, fear, that fear-based place, which is going to give different results versus coming from that, I love this work, I want to give more, I
Yeah.
feel energized. So look at your energy. Do you feel more, your tank is more full at the end of the day? Like, are you feeling depleted? Are you feeling excited? Now, for some of us, like, I love this work and I sometimes feel like I could go on and go on and go on. So I have to be careful because you can easily give and give and give and do a lot. And then all of a sudden your body's like, nope, you need a rest. You are depleted.
Mm.
So watch your energy, watch how you're feeling, but notice, it's really important to stop and say, am I coming from fear or am I coming from this place of expansion?
Mm.
And from possibility, you will start to notice. And I can tell you, goodness, as somebody who could like be in the club of like driven, over ambitious, overachieving women, hello, like all my friends growing up went to Harvard and Ivy League schools. I grew up outside next to Harvard. Like I
No
grew up
pressure.
in this soup. Trust me when I say, like, I
Ugh.
get it. Right. And it
Yeah.
doesn't even have to be that aspect, but there's something about proving something to yourself. And so
Yeah.
the spiritual answer to me is, are you, I mean, this can go into sales because I've seen this really to make the shift for my own self is, you get connected to your why, to your purpose, to what is important about whatever it is that you're doing or that you're here. Why are you here to serve? Why is this important? You go right into the heart of that and you call in, the greater forces of love and
Mm.
infinite intelligence, and you weave yourself with that energy. That's a very different place to come from, because what happens is you become more the vessel.
Oh,
And I have found that feels very different. It might
yeah.
look like, oh, Julie's driven, but when I call in, the universe, divine God,
Yeah.
it's a very different way to be. In fact, conversations that look like sales conversations feel very different to me.
Yes.
The results are very different. Um, I'm just a big believer. I've seen a huge shift
Yeah.
when you invite that higher force in, you invite that God force. And the thing about that is you will notice how you feel. You don't feel depleted. You feel
Mm.
energized.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. I've totally I've experienced both sides in my life, and it's polar opposite in terms of both experience and then I would say also results. I'm just thinking about, I'm sure there's a question that's going to come from this. I don't have it off the top of my head, but I think there's so much conditioning around like the only way to be successful, the only way to make the money you want, the only way to, in the sales world or in the entrepreneur world, like hit the top of the leaderboard or make 6 or 7 or 8 figures or whatever you're looking to do is if you're pushing yourself. But from what you're saying, Julie, like, and I want to like, tell me if I'm understanding this correctly, or if there's something else you would say here, like when we feel that energy of push and it doesn't actually feel good, it's like a guide that we're actually on the wrong track for how we are going to achieve our goals. And do we actually accomplish less from that energy versus when we're connected, whole, divinely guided, inspired? Like, what's your experience there been in terms of actual results in your business and in your sales?
I just had a great example of this, what you're
Awesome.
saying. And I'll tell you, the gift of having this autoimmune condition, which is getting better and better, which is something I've been managing since that really challenging period. And I think it was my body's way. And I think our bodies are constantly speaking to us. We know that. I've had the gift of it because when I push myself, I feel it immediately in my
Mm.
body, in my energy, in the way that I sleep or don't sleep, in the adrenals, fatigue, all of it. So the gift is I have a gauge. I mean, it is like spot on. So now
Ooh,
I'm like,
yeah.
and I've just learned, I that pushing, first of all, I would look very carefully. Probably there's a belief hidden in there that you have to work hard to make money and
Mm.
to expand. And I will tell you right now, I do not believe that belief anymore.
Mm.
Um, and
Awesome.
that's a belief. So go on a belief hunt, look and see, what are you saying to yourself? Because if, again, and I always come back to this greater connection to higher power, to God. Like, I just don't believe that creative force is about pushing and hurting yourself. I believe it's about love and expansion and
Mm.
abundance and joy. I mean, if you look at nature, like we just going through spring, it doesn't look like the trees are pushing so hard. Like
Ah,
they have
yeah.
their leaves and the flowers, and it's just, we're similar. So we're conditioned to think you've got to push and work hard. I just had a situation. This was about a couple weeks ago. I still coach individuals. I mean, not a handful. I
Sure.
coached a handful of people. I always say, I'm not the cheapest coach on the block, but I've been doing
Hmm.
this a long time, and I'm invested, and I love it. I love it so
Yeah.
much. And I have an application, and if people want to work with me, I really want to know, are you ready? Are you the right fit? And I had a day, I was so tired, Elise. I'm in for those women in like perimenopausal
Hmm.
life, like that is a whole other thing, and
Yeah.
hormone changing. And I was really I was tired, which I don't always get tired in the afternoon, but I was. And I'm like, I'm going to do something I have never done. I like, can't believe for overachiever person to like say you watch TV in the middle of the day is like, I've
Oh,
never,
yeah.
I've never done this. Like I
It pushes all
legit,
the boundaries,
I was like,
right?
oh my God, what am I doing? But I was like, no,
Yeah.
I really need to just just shut down my body. And I
Yeah.
felt so restored. I watched for 2.5 hours. I've never done this. And it
For
was
you.
such a fun, like, it's just, I love anything that's like Bridgerton related. So it was that
Yeah.
kind of show. Anyhow, that night, I got this beautiful application filled out. I read it. The next morning, I had an amazing conversation with this woman who hired me to coach her,
Oh,
who
wow.
is, and it was, I did nothing. I did nothing to push that. That
Wow.
came. So many opportunities, so many clients have come. And I write it down because I'm like, oh, let me notice the pattern. It's when I
Evidence. Mhm.
rest, evidence. That's right. When I rest, when I take a moment to pause, when I take an extra long lunch, when I prepare a lovely lunch, when I, stop at a normal time and decide I'm going to hang with my husband, or, curl up with my kitty, or like go in my
Mm.
infrared sauna, or just chill. Like, this is what I'm saying. And over and over again, clients, people, opportunities have come after these beautiful periods of rest. This was
Wow.
like not how I operated, I would say 7, 8 years ago. No way. No
Oh
way.
my gosh. Oh my gosh. If someone is listening and they say, okay, I 100% have the belief that I
Yeah.
have to work hard to make money and expand, because I mean, who is not conditioned with that at some point in a society?
Yeah.
How do they start to change it? What do they do?
Yeah. And let me say this. I'm not saying, some might say you just sit back and do, I'm not saying you sit back and do nothing. I'm not
Sure.
worried for anyone listening, because I know if we're cut from the same cloth, I couldn't do that if I tried.
Oh,
I
it would be the hardest thing to
Yeah.
do. Yeah. For
I mean, so
yeah.
I'm not worried in this,
Yeah.
community. Like, I'm sure,
Right.
for you, amazing listener, I'm sure you are the type that, like, if anything, probably a little like, you know, taking time to relax, to rest, to kind of shift a little more into what we think of as that more of that feminine energy is
Mhm.
very, very healing. One thing I would do is I would actually do a little research, look at your
Mm.
past, and just look at some of the sales and opportunities and experiences and high point moments, especially as it relates to your business or to the work you're doing, and look and see, what did you do? Like, what happened? How did that happen? How did that situation, that client, that sale, how did that happen?
Mm.
Who were you being? What was your energy like? I am going to bet that you are going to see that it's actually, it might be less pushing than you think. So number one,
Mm.
it's good to do a little research. The other piece is what you said earlier is keep evidence. I have two different places. Actually, when we met, Elise, I have on the back of my vision board, I have like all these ways that I've just listening to intuition, following those inner cues. And I said yes. And I met, you and Quantum Leap Mastermind
Yeah.
people and Hal. And what did that end up opening into? And I track it. It's so beautiful. It looks like a
Wow.
tree. So keep
Mm.
evidence of, how are you noticing? Let's say like someone comes in, like just what you did, take a breath. That's what our
Yeah.
bodies need, rest and need breath and need these pauses, these very sacred pauses. They do. If you keep pushing yourself, here's the thing I'll just share, be careful. I have a whole, wellness background as well.
Yeah.
Your body is going to speak to you. Just, you don't want it to speak to you through issues
Mm.
and illness, and like,
Yeah.
listen now, because it doesn't need to. It
Wow.
doesn't
Oh
need
my
to.
gosh. This is resonating so much. This is resonating so, so much. And I love that. I'm actually going to go back and do that too, is just look at like for the best clients that have come in for the biggest deals.
Yeah.
Biggest isn't always the qualifier, right? But it can be fun to look at and be like, that was one of my biggest sales. And it kind of just came to me, because I think
Yes.
that's definitely been the case for me. And when I'm thinking about my clients who are going to listen to this too, I think they'll look back and see the same thing. So
Yeah.
gosh, that's so powerful. Let's talk about let's talk a bit about sales and business process,
Yeah.
because you've got I think we'll have to have you on for two conversations if you're up for it, because there's just like so much here I want to go into. Truly, I don't say that without actually meaning it. Like I really think there's so many deep, cool places we could go with this.
Yeah.
But one thing I do want to hit on with you here in this conversation is Something you mentioned, I can't remember if you mentioned it in the pre-chat or on this interview, frankly, but either way, I know when you started off as an entrepreneur, you didn't have sales or marketing background, and yet you've built this really incredible, thriving business. You're a top-rated author. You've got, you're certifying coaches from all around the world. Like, what did you do to figure out the sales piece of the game? Like, did you learn a hardcore tactical sales strategy? Did you do something else? Like, what were the elements that helped you truly build a successful business?
Yeah, I'm literally like laughing and wanting to cry at the same time, because there was a part of me that always laughs like, I was missing the memo of like the sales memo. Like I did not have any training. I did not know. I didn't.
But that's great, right? I just want to like, I think a lot of times like ignorance is bliss in many ways, right? Because here you are, you didn't get caught up in the details, you made it work, but
Yeah.
go ahead. So you missed the sales memo.
So again, and I missed the whole thing. I really believe this in my heart. And I believe to my core, to my heart, that when you have, and you can look at this in Think and Grow Rich, right? And I remember reading that the idea of this desire, this unwavering intention and desire, right? There's a phenomenal book called The Intention Experiment. Lynn McTaggart has done years and years, thousands of research.
She wrote The Field, right?
Yes.
I don't know of this other book though. Okay.
Yes.
The Intention Experiment.
Yes. And where you get groups together, but this can work one-on-one. You set intentions very specifically. And I really believe, at least when this comes from that place, your desire, your intention comes from a place that really is here to serve for the highest good, both for that's going to bless you and that's going to bless your clients. And again, I know I tend to come more from a spiritual perspective. It's just what has helped me is maybe more of a macro perspective. Like I really started this business from this deep desire to help others, especially women, to make sure that they never felt like they were not good enough, like they were believing the bullshit that excuse my language, but
no, I'm here for it,
that their ego, stories, beliefs, conditioning, society is telling them. And I was like, oh, heck no, not on my watch, not in my time we're doing this. I saw what happens and experienced it health-wise with the crisis. And I mean, every area, I was like, gosh, darn it. I just got a crash course in what happens when you don't love and honor yourself. And so, the overachieving, the overbeing, the over needing to be something you're not, all of that, I just literally felt like I had to do this work. And I do think that powerful desire, that fiery, I want to help. I want to be of service. I want to make an impact. Like I felt like that is what I'm waking up here to do. That really is what was behind everything. And I think the thing that we have to remember is everything on the outside is going to reflect what's going on the inside, in yourself, what you believe, what you think, how you feel about yourself, the stories, the beliefs. That's why, if you think it's hard to make money, you're going to see it's hard to make money.
Yeah.
So if you believe like, you know what, I don't care how this is going to look, I just want to help other women get out of this crazy conditioning or relationships that don't fit them, or belief about their body or something not being good enough. And I'm like, no, God doesn't make, God makes beauty and amazing people. Like we are here to express ourselves fully. And I just felt so on fire about that really was, I think, the deep intention and impetus behind everything, and allowed me to not get stuck in, it's actually what I'm writing about next is about imposter syndrome. And it's called Who Does She Think She Is the name of the book.
This is a new book. Oh, that's exciting.
We just get into, I think, like, who do I think I am? I don't know. How could I ask for that client? It's not about you. It's not about me. Get past that, get to the desire, get to the why. Why is this important? And that carried everything. Now I started to learn a little bit like, okay, how do you get a website? Like, how do I meet people? That's when I, found our mastermind we did. But I will tell you, I had zero training. I've had very little to this day. I find when I try to learn it, my brain gets like, what are you doing? Are you doing it right?
Mm,
It's like, just go to being with people, listening,
yeah.
being open-hearted, see where they are, see if there's a way you can serve. And if not, get unattached. It's not about me and it's not about you anyhow, you know?
Wow. Oh, did you ever deal with, I'm just saying this because I know we've got listeners who are either in, they're in sales and they've got like a hardcore quota they're supposed to hit every month and they're in fear about, am I going to hit it or not? Or
Yeah.
entrepreneurs who are maybe just launching,
Yeah.
haven't seen a lot of clients yet, or maybe they're in a season of their life or business that feels down. Like, did you ever face scarcity mentality or fears around that? And if so, how did you approach that? I mean, I think you get beautiful advice on like noticing the belief of, do I have to work hard to make money and expand? But was there ever that experience for you? And if so, like how do you tap back into abundance
Oh
out of
yeah.
that?
Yeah. And let me be clear because I do have, the left brain side as well. Like I
Yeah.
do
Yeah.
track the numbers and I'm tracking what's going
Sure.
on. There's both. Yeah, I've definitely been face to face with that. In fact, as I started my business and got more into it, I remember being an affiliate for a dear friend. I loved her program and was trying to make a certain amount of, have a certain amount of people join and to make
Yeah.
this like group that only, I don't know, 5%. And I had no idea. I was like, how am I going to do this? I don't even have sales training. Like I don't,
Yeah.
and I'm telling you, I really believe you got to do that inner work. And I was like, okay, I am believing that I'm not enough, that I don't
Yeah.
have what it takes. What I do know with sales, which to me translates to having real, authentic conversations with people because you believe in what you're sharing and selling and seeing if that might be a good fit and what is the need on that end and being completely okay with either whatever happens. That's like
Yeah.
what I boiled it down to. And I just started getting really clear why I signed up to be an affiliate, why I loved her program. And I was like, well, I'm just going to share it with as many
Mm,
people. And I do think when you are clear why this product, this service is so important, why is it going to bless them and others? When you come from that place of sharing and then you come from the place of unattachment. And I'm telling you, each of those times, somehow I ended in the top 1%. And I'm telling
wow.
you, this is why I'm laughing. So I'm like, there was no formal training yet to get to that quota. I just, yeah. And it was like, I remember we had like 3 days left and I was not even close to it,
Mm,
Elise. And I was like, Julie, you got to go plug yourself back in the wall of the why. Why do you love
mm,
this program? What, like, don't get stuck in the people that said, no, it's not for them. That's fine. There
yeah.
are people that this could help. Go be in that space. And that's where I think you got to do that inner honest assessment. Am I feeling scared? Is it more about my ego and looking good and making
Mm,
quota? Or is it, I actually, yes, I want to make quota and this service, this product, this thing is really, really important. Here's why. And I believe in it. When we believe in something and we bring in that greater connection and knowing it's going to help others, knowing it's going to bless others, I think there's another power that comes in that helps
oh my gosh.
support it.
I love what you said. You said plug yourself back into the wall of the why. So if
Yeah.
someone's listening and they're like, they're
Yeah.
dealing with scarcity, they're dealing with fear that they're not going to hit their numbers, your
Yes.
advice is, it's not like, hey, go send 100 DMs right now. It's like, first go get plugged back into the why and then like just follow the guidance from there, or yeah.
I would say like it's no, it's not a problem. It's not wrong to send the 100 DMs, right?
Right.
Especially if that's going to be, it also might be send, DMs, make some phone calls, see how people are
Hmm.
actually doing, like get in humanity and your heart, but
Yeah.
do not make those calls or DMs or text anything until you have plugged yourself back in to the wall of that why, of
Yeah.
that deeper reason, that purpose. I just, all I can say is there's a magnetic energy that
Yeah.
happens and you cannot fake it. I don't believe. Because
Mm,
as human beings, we're smart. We can sense people. I mean, one of
yeah.
the things I know is if I feel like someone's coming from that place of like, oh, I'm a sale. Oh, that
Right.
feels so yucky. We don't want
Yeah.
to come from that. It doesn't feel good. So we got to do that inner pivot before.
Yeah.
Don't reach out to anyone until you've come back home into yourself and you're like, I love this work. I
Yes.
feel this is important. This is why. And then watch what happens.
Oh my gosh. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. It's so great. It reminds me of you'll probably know this when Abraham Hicks talks about like a lot of people they'll try to vacuum the whole living room, but like the vacuum is unplugged
Yeah.
the whole time. It's the way a lot of us take action when we haven't plugged in first to the wall of the why, the way you put it. So gosh, this is so powerful. I just look, I was like, I told you we're going to talk for 30 minutes. We probably talked for longer and there's a million more places I want to go from here, but I also want to honor your time. So Julie, if somebody wants to get connected with you, learn more about your programs, I know you've got at the time this comes out, you'll have a certification cohort coming up. Can you speak a little bit about how they connect with you, your list, and then how they can get involved in the certification if they want?
Yes. 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 Yes.
Awesome.
We're going to be doing the 10th cohort starting on 10/10.
Oh, cool.
And I have been teaching the fundamentals of coaching for years. Still at Georgetown, I started my own program. Really, that also adds in some of the most important positive psychology methodologies, but also the healing arts. I add in a
Yeah.
lot around healing and energy. The best thing is to go to my website, which hopefully you'll have, just my
Yep.
name, first last name.com. And I do have, and it's on the website, I have a tool set, and there's some of my favorite practices I use. They're really good. It's a tool set to really design your best life. You can get that
Mm,
on my website or juliereisler.com slash, I think, tool set. I think it's really easy.
amazing. Amazing.
And we have a wait list if you're interested. I talk to everybody who thinks they might want to do the coaching program. I'd say 50% come in who are already trained as coaches, but feel like they want to refine skills or just kind of add to their toolbox. But I do talk to everyone to make sure it's the right fit. It's not the right fit for everybody. So I'm
Yeah.
really clear on that. And I just love to hear from people. Like, if maybe there's something you heard and you're like, I don't know about that. Like, I love people. I love
Oh,
this work. So yeah.
amazing. Amazing.
And
Julie,
you,
this is, yeah, thank you so much. This is so powerful. We'll link everything in the show notes so people can get involved and get your tool set and then also learn about the coaching certification. And I just want to say thank you again. Like that's why I love hosting this show because I feel like I get like a mini coaching session from when I bring on incredible people like you who are just masters at their craft. So thank you so much. I really, really appreciate you and your time, and we will have you back if you would like to come back on. It would be so great to go deeper with you. So thank you again.
Elise, thank you so much. I love who you are. I'm so grateful for the work you're doing. And it was
Mm,
just an honor to be here.
yeah.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. To you, my listener, oh my gosh, you're going to want to go back and re-listen to this because there was a lot of gold in this. So go get connected with Julie, re-listen, share this with your friends, with your network. I think at the end of the day, this is some of the most important, if not the most important, um, soul work that we're all here to either learn or do along the journey. And of course, it will help you elevate your sales and your business, but it will also just help you really have a very different experience of business and life as well. So thank you as always for being a listener. So grateful for you. Love you so much. And I'll see you on our next episode. Bye for